Trying to track it down for a month, he finally did it last week. Told her the broadband, governor signed that extra bill for $300 million to get broadband everywhere. So what I ended up doing, I had to call all the phone carriers. I can't believe that. I started off with South Slope, my carrier. I said, okay, what is X? What is Shelburne? Well, we don't know. We don't have a clue. Oh, no, we worry about our own stuff. We don't worry. So I ended up calling all the carriers here, about where, I guess there's some dead issues around Urbana. You know what I mean? In the rural, that does not have fiber optics yet. Belle Plaine does not, in the rural, does not have fiber optic, and supposedly Belle Plaine itself does not have fiber optic yet, but they're gonna get it this spring, cause see, they got bought out from Shelburne. Shelburne bought Coon Creek out. I had to do this guy, I look at it, it's not my responsibility. I had to do this guy's homework to find out where everything is, and then we had a long hour and a half talk on the phone about, I said, yeah, I said, well, we have nothing to do with phone company. No, I said, we can't, and I said, they should know you got $300 million sitting down there. Yeah, there's gonna be areas that are, quite honestly, not cost effective. As far as this grant money comes in, yeah, they'll pay for it. Another one would be, even get ready to do the documents, there's really not enough around. Well, that's why I look at it, so. But from the county standpoint, grant money, they need to get on their phone and grind. That's right. And then if he saves them, yeah, that the fees were paid. You should be. The other time, that the taxes are. Hey, you, Gary? Yep. Okay. Got about 3-4 minutes here. Yeah. And Rick is here, so. We'll get this done today, but there's no need to vacate any other plat, cause we're changing the interior boundary, so we're making a replat. Perfect. Okay? Just for your information. Remember the one for the WMA?
At our committee,
Yep.
let me put it in my WMA file.
You can. Most certainly can.
Tracy,
Yeah.
did you get a chance to look at that, chipper or whatever you call it
No.
over in Norway?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either.
I have not.
I think Ben was going to.
We had a meeting with Ben Thursday.
Okay.
We are live, so then we can start. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I handed out what Dean
Yep.
provided, because he's not here for me, I don't think.
That's fine. I'll let you look at that, right? Or you got one?
Got one.
Okay. What we got now, Gary, we got,
Yeah.
okay, one of Dean's.
Dean Beck,
Yep,
Dean Baffra.
yep. I'll take a motion.
Make that motion that we, increase Rodney Clark's, wage for obtaining his Class C license.
Okay, do I have a second, Gary?
Yeah, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are making that effective on the 19th, so for his payroll.
About that.
I have the liquor license, if you wanna do that one.
That's for Terry Hill. Yep. Terry.
You're going to supervisors meeting, right?
There you go.
Thank you.
Well. You usually does, really.
Hello.
Good morning.
Should we just sit anywhere? Can I just sit anywhere? Yep.
Well, then I would make a motion that we approve the, Class C liquor license for Cherry Hills Country Club.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's gonna be signed, right?
Yes. There's just the one in the back.
Yep. How about the minutes?
I've looked them over.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 I believe you. Gary, you went to the mental health meeting though too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mona is here.
Mhm. Yep. I just need to see who to start doing that after the meeting. Greg Walston is unable to attend too, so we could skip over that part too.
Okay. I don't know. but we still didn't have a lease.
Right, so maybe that'll give us time for somebody to talk to the county attorneys and we can get that going. Cause currently they're not active on one right now either, or for the last
I
year.
remember David told me that they wanted it for 5 years.
But in the
We
code,
technically can't do it for 5 years, we do it for yearly. So the problem, otherwise we have to put it out for bid. Somebody else can come in here and do it.
I think it's over 3 years,
Yes.
even with the land.
Yeah. So that's why he suggested do it 1 year at a time, so.
But if you Chris will come in and give us this.
I remember him telling me that.
Well, I'd be surprised if somebody wants to come in and take a bid over to produce, or for produce.
Right.
For the KCAP. Yeah.
Mona.
Oh, it's all me. Just letting you guys know that the board approved it without any issues, so I will work on. So since last time, I want you guys' opinion on this. Since last time I didn't get any bids back except for from ties for the car. Do you guys still want me to send something out to every single place and wait to see what we get back for bids, or just contact ties directly and get something figured out for the car? What would you prefer?
I think you're best to send out.
And I'm fine with that. That's why I wanted to make sure that I was doing what you guys.
Yeah, that way we treat everyone fair.
Okay. I will get that sent out today then. But yeah, otherwise, that was all approved. So I will get with Foundation 2. I think they probably know, but I will let them know that whatever for iPad things, getting her signed up for that training. And then May did review budget stuff to reiterate that no local dollars, we're going to be below the 40% that we need to be, so no local dollars will go back to the state, anything like that. So she reiterated that. So anything that's left in our fund balance after June 30th, it'll go back to the region, but it will stay within the region. It will stay local dollars, not go back to the state. So. Any questions?
There's a Ford dealership in Benton County. Benton here. Van Horn. Blairstown, Wild Plains. 5? 2 of them. 2 of them, yeah.
Okay, because I've historically only gone to 3 different ones. So Ron, stop by my office and get me the names of all 5 and your contacts. So, all right, is that it? Okay, so yes, Ron, stop by my office and then we'll get all that sorted. All right, thanks guys.
Dean says it's hard to hear us in here, so I don't know why I connected that, but keep going.
How about discuss? How about, let's go to Union Township trustees. I didn't know nothing about trustees.
Oh, I talked with Gary a little bit yesterday. Did you get a chance, Gary, to talk to anybody?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I would like to, get a chance and over the next week and, see how it works out. There might be somebody that's interested. Don't
Okay.
know.
Alright, and then we need one for Benton Township as well.
Who dropped off and appointed,
I knew it was the administrative fire, but let me see. Gina had it resigned.
I just seen him this morning too. Garbers. That garbers.
Matt Garbers?
Yeah.
Go back and look.
Go back and look.
He's interested.
Well, we still need
No.
one for Benton for sure.
Okay.
We
Alright.
appointed that garbers.
Maybe Gina just didn't put that one in. I'll look. And then we were approached by a few township officials questioning their pay. So Gina did some research and it looks like 2007 was the last time that the township officials' wage increased. It is currently $15 an hour with a minimum of $25 per meeting. So, I wanted to bring that to your attention if you were wanting to pay them more for their time. I know the clerks can submit more for code, but I'm talking about all the other trustees and such. Which Tracy kind of remembers when you were on the trustee officials. Think about that.
Is a couple bucks an hour gonna?
It probably won't make much difference, will it?
In attendance, I would doubt it.
They meet a lot least 3 or 4 times a year, probably, right? Tracy?
They meet, well, legally they meet twice.
Then we can
The
do
third time when they sign off, they don't even charge
the
for that.
budget.
Yep.
So at least 3, but yeah.
I don't know, 25 and 40?
25 an hour and minimum of 40 a meeting?
Yeah, I don't know.
You guys wanna think about it? Or act on it? Let me see how I put it on there. I just put discuss today, so.
Well, I don't think anybody's in it for the money,
Right.
you know. So, you know. I really, you know. I might as well be the.
There's a whole line of them out at the door waiting for more.
Waiting for more funds or waiting to become a trustee?
Either one.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna change a thing,
I don't either.
but they need to be compensated for what they're doing.
Oh, I get that, Gary. Yeah. How long is the average meeting?
Each township there.
Just throw a number at me, see if it sticks to the wall.
Okay, you could say 15, 20 minutes on some. All the ones are probably 2 hours. It's gotta take care of cemeteries. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We had one this last Friday, they were meeting for a couple hours, cause they were discussing.
So if we use Gary's $40 number and you went to $20 an hour, they're either gonna get, you know, basically a minimum of, you know, well, they'll get $40. It's a minimum of 2 hours.
Right now, most of them get $50.
Well, no, it's 15 an hour or a minimum of 25 per meeting, so.
Yeah. Most
Some of them might specify their 3
yeah,
hours or they'll
majority
just,
of them do the $25
Yep.
per meeting.
or they'll just put the day of the meeting.
You know, I hate to get, no offense, I hate to get too wild and crazy, you know, and I realize this hasn't gone up for 15 years. So,
Almost 7 years.
almost 722.
98, so.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think $20 an hour with a 40-hour minimum is, $40 minimum is out of line.
You're welcome.
So, but
Put
that,
it on as an action item this week.
I think so. That gives everybody a chance to kind of kick it around.
So I'm thinking, my opinion, $35 a meeting. That's my opinion, $35 a meeting.
Yeah. How much per hour?
Well, then I don't.
I got 10 on now.
18 or 20.
Okay.
Exactly.
What, 18 is, well then, just at 18, well, 1750,
Yeah.
1750 and 35.
Yeah.
I'm sweet with that.
Billy, you get that? $17.50 an hour, $35 a meeting.
That's
That's
what
what
you
we'll
think.
have for next week.
17.50 an hour, 35 minutes.
Did you get that, Gary?
Yeah,
Okay.
Alright, I'll just put,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
approve township.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Alright, Mark.
I've given you a application packet that we've received from HGP Land LLC. Jim Hicks is the principal, he's here today, representing HGP. You've met the board, I think, before, Rick Primer, Tracy Seaman, and Haley Ripple, of course, is our county auditor. Are you ladies here for the hearing today?
Yes.
Okay. I have an extra application packet here I'll let you take a look at. I'd like it back, and maybe we'll share it with her after you've done
Would,
looking at it.
I printed it off, so do you want this
Okay,
also?
thank you. Perfect.
And,
Here, Jack, will you come up to this? This application that we're looking at today comes to us with a preliminary plat. The preliminary plat contains 8 lots, and they're proposed for residential purposes. The parcel lies on the west side of 32nd Avenue. It's a little bit larger than 17 acres in size, excluding the road. It's in the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter, section 3485-9 or Benton Township. It's south of 61st Street Lane, south of the Oak Grove Church Corner, as we like to call it. The land is owned by Hidden Meadow Farm, currently, Hidden Meadow Farm LLC. I've given you a copy of the aerial, showing you what that parcel actually looks like. You can see that Steve Spidell has signed the application. Steve's the manager of Hidden Meadow Farm LLC. A little bit of brief history here. Basically, in April of 2017, you looked at a proposal to accept land use change on this very parcel. It was submitted by Hidden Meadow Farm LLC at the time. Came with a preliminary plat. They wanted to create a 6-lot subdivision. One of those lots at the time was proposed for commercial development. The others were specifically earmarked for residential purposes. That application was approved in April. In February of 2018, you were actually presented with a final plat for what became known as Hidden Meadow 3rd Edition, and you adopted a resolution approving that. So they're actually, at this point in time, we're looking at new application on a parcel that had been anticipated that it was going to be developed. There have been no improvements made to that 17 acres at this point in time. The property is for sale, and that brings us up to fast forwarding to this point in time. What you're looking at today is a new application for this particular parcel containing the 8-lot subdivision. Due to the fact that this is different than what we went to public hearing with in 2017, I called for all of this to be done new and fresh so that it could be reviewed and the public could have a chance to actually look at the application. So we have a complete resubmittal of all of the documents here. HGP has put forth a completed application, which you have, and they've complied with the subdivision ordinance by submitting a preliminary plat with that. The preliminary plat is for Sunset Estates addition to Benton County, and obviously you have copies of that as well. This plat was drawn by Brain Engineering. They are registered land surveyors and engineers from the city of Cedar Rapids. The lots are numbered 1 through 8 on your plat, and each of them are a minimum of 2 acres in size. That's a requirement of our subdivision ordinance if individual well and septic systems are to be requested, which is the case here. The 2 acres on these lots includes portions of the interior road, which is running down, traversing down the center of the 17 acres. The lot lines go to the center of the private road, so all of the owners would own a share of that interior road. Lot number 1 and lot number 8, which are out by the county road, do include some county road right-of-way. As far as our technical review goes, The land that we're looking at here, you can see the two photographs that I attached towards the back of the packet. This land has been in production in the past. It has basically a fine sandy loam soil present there, has 2 to 5% slopes. And we have a weighted average CSR of 52. And the reason why I say weighted average is that there's more than one soil type. So basically what we do is we take the number of acres and determine what that CSR is for that particular property. And it is a 52. Our standard is anything that's 70 and above is to remain as agricultural property. This proposal comes to us, the preliminary plat shows basically 2 shared wells that are being proposed, one for 4 of the lots each, and then it also speaks to having individual septic systems. If indeed this is going to be proposed, our subdivision ordinance requires that there be a well system evaluation and also a septic system evaluation submitted, which it was, as required by the ordinance. Mr. Brain basically submitted both of those. The well locations are shown on the preliminary plat, basically towards the center on the north side of the road and the south side of the road. You'll see there's a 20 by 20 well easement listed, situated on the lot lines. Mr. Brain's report indicates that he feels that 2 wells would be adequate for this particular site, which I also would agree with. His septic report indicates that each lot would have its own septic system, and his belief he states in his report that he believes that they would be conventional. I also believe that individual water and septic systems can be utilized to serve this subdivision. The only thing that I would offer here is that I do have some reservation about them being quote unquote conventional. From the standpoint that there likely are hydric soils present here, and as we get further into the review, when it's time for individuals to actually be seeking out permits for installation of septic systems, it could be revealed by doing the appropriate soil profiling that hydric soils are present, and so there is that possibility that they may not be conventional systems. We have alternatives available to us for septic systems, containerized systems, sand filters, whatnot. There's plenty of alternatives, so that isn't a deal breaker if indeed it's not going to be a conventional septic system. We have this happening quite frequently anymore, frankly. But I just wanted to mention to it by way of full disclosure that if someone anticipates, well, it's automatically going to be a septic tank with trenches, that may not be the case. And the reason why that could be important is because that system could be a little more expensive than a conventional system. As far as our driveway goes, it's going to come off of the hard surface road. That's 32nd Avenue. Randy Sherwood did review this, and he offered this up in his report. He states, and I'm quoting basically here, there is an existing drive off 32nd Avenue south of where the plat shows the drive to be. That's not intended to be utilized. The driveway, according to the plat, is a little bit north of that existing driveway. Randy measured it out. He set a red flag in the fence, which you can see on the photograph that I've taken there. He indicates that the driveway would have appropriate site distance at that point. But he goes on to say that the new driveway will need to meet the driveway policy requirements that call for 6-to-1 slopes along the sides of the fill where it crosses through the right-of-way. So the driveway is very doable. In respect to our subdivision ordinance, it also requires that we have a soil erosion control and drainage control statement from the developers. We do have that letter of intent, was received from HGP. It's been received and filed, and it basically states that they'll bear final responsibility for controlling the erosion from the subdivision, and also that natural drainage courses and waterways will be preserved. As far as adjacent land uses, when we review any land use change, we look to see what is adjacent and obviously nearby. To the west and the south, we have cropland. I didn't see any livestock in the immediate vicinity. To the north is the first and second editions of Hidden Meadow subdivisions. And further to the north, there are several individual acreages. There's another subdivision a half mile south of this proposed development on 62nd Street. And on the east side of 32nd Avenue, there's an abandoned acreage that was hit pretty hard by the derecho. Our subdivision ordinance also requires that property be on a hard surface road if it's going to be developed, which is the case here. We're 2.5 miles north of Shellsburg and the emergency services that Shellsburg might possibly provide. We notified 12 adjacent property owners, and we also placed legal notices in the official newspaper in Benton County as required. We had one call in advance of today's hearing. That call was not made to protest the subdivision at all. It was made just basically to inquire as to where this parcel of land is in respect to the person that made the call. At this point in time, I guess I would ask if indeed you have questions of me about this. Feel free.
We did receive that letter last week, but we weren't sure what it was about the soil and erosion thing.
Well, is it my understanding that this is going to occur no matter what? Is this already determined that this is going to be a development?
That is not the case. This is a public hearing today to introduce the information to the supervisors, for the supervisors to consider all the information, and also part of the process is that public input can be considered. There's nothing that's final at this point. This is an application being made to do what it is that I just described.
However, we did approve.
We did.
That there was 4 residential lots and a commercial lot. Is that correct?
There were actually 5 residential and 1
5. Okay.
It was approved in 2017 for a very similar use. It's just that at this point in time, the way that it's drawn up is different. We'll have new ownership, and it'll be called something else. At that time, it was approved to be Hidden Meadow 3rd edition. And at this point in time, it's proposed to be called Sunset Estates Edition to Benton County.
So technically, if they wish to purchase it as is, they would have their 6 lots, which has been approved.
Yes.
5 residential and 1 commercial, for a total of 6. What they're asking for is that the commercial be removed and that the total of 6 lots be divided out into 8.
Exactly.
That's the long and the short of it, correct?
That's the long and the short of it. That's right.
Yeah.
May I ask, if something is partially residential and then it has a commercial area in there, what would the commercial be used for?
At that time, they were looking to put a wedding venue. Okay, at that time.
Their HGP's proposal was strictly for residential lots, no commercial.
If it was sold as is commercial, just commercial, I mean, I don't know.
It could be anything.
7-Eleven, anything.
Well, it could be an industrial manufacturer of some sort. That's commercial.
It could be anything as far as that goes. It falls into that
Could
flavor.
be a 7-Eleven, like you said, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a couple of questions too.
Can I get everybody's names
Yeah.
here?
I'm Amber. I live on the other side of where you're planning to build.
Amber,
Goach, G-O-T-S-C-H.
My name is Destiny Benish. My husband and I own the property that's directly to the left. Or I guess
If you're going down this way, it's to the right. So she's in the back.
we're in the far back. We're the original house that was in Hidden Meadows.
I just have a couple questions on the wells that you're building, those two big wells. Will we see any impact to our well water and the pumps that we're getting? Is that gonna, cause they're pretty big, the 20, what'd you say it was, the 20 by 20? Well,
Actually, it's not that size. The easement is 20 by 20 that the well would go on. The well would look like, if you have a well there now, it would look like what you have. Okay, it would probably be a 6-inch diameter casing, be very similar to what you have.
I'm just thinking of the water pressure and if it's using, if you're splitting it between 4 houses, what's that gonna do with the water pressure affecting our houses, or if it's?
It wouldn't be any different than if indeed each individual lot owner in Hidden Meadows second and first edition right now have their own well. As far as the use of water, it's going to be basically the same. They're just gonna have 2 wells rather than 8 wells. And so from that standpoint, they'll be deeper wells. I'm guessing at least 400 and some odd feet deep, and there won't be any, I can't anticipate and say 100% sure, but you should not see any difference with any water use that you would have there. These wells are being proposed to be shared so that you have the likelihood that you can always get good separation distance between wells and septic systems. And plus it minimizes the cost of construction somewhat rather than everybody having their own well. But it's basically a win-win when you're looking at shared wells. But there shouldn't be any real demonstrable effect on your water, no different than, like I said, if everybody in the 2 existing developments right now all had their own well.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it would.
But no, that 20 by 20 is the actual easement itself that the well will be placed on. It'll be located somewhat in the center of that 20 by 20 lot.
Okay.
It's just an easement so that these folks can have that well there. And then they'll pipe away from those particular wells to the other lots.
Okay, and then, is there gonna be some type of covenants or restriction on the homes that are being built, the size,
Good question. Our subdivision ordinance absolutely requires that when it comes to final plat time, that the supervisors be presented with copies of covenant. And they have actually done that. They've been working on it here for some time. So the structures themselves are regulated, if you will, by the developer, not by the county, but there are requirements put in place. This is what these are going to look like and how it's going to be done. And that's a requirement, and they've complied with that as well. So at this point in time, though, that's a matter for the final plat stage.
So I have, well, my opinion on it, but then also a few questions. When my husband and I moved out there, I mean, a huge reason why we chose where we did was because it's secluded. We were willing to drive the 30 minutes to Cedar Rapids. My husband, I mean, he's an electrician, so his work changes based on their jobs, but he's been working for the past year and a half down at the University of Iowa, so I mean, he drives an hour. But we were looking, when we were looking to either build or buy, anywhere from Kelowna to Anamosa, because we wanted to be, secluded. And when we bought the house, we had no idea that that was already planned to be developed. Now, am I glad that it's being, I mean, if it has to happen, and if it does happen, am I glad that it's not commercial? Absolutely. I do not want that on any level. But I can tell you also, I don't want any houses developed around us. I mean, that's why we choose to live in the country. I mean, we lived in Cedar Rapids. We had a ton of neighbors. And then also, because I mean, even coming in here, we had no idea if it was the cornfield behind us and on the side. So we were really kind of freaking out. So we're like, we don't want houses behind us. We don't want houses beside us. That's why we chose what we chose. And, I mean, I have twin 1-year-olds. And so, it always makes me nervous having more people around. I mean, what I love about my property right now is that, I mean, obviously right now they can't play out there, alone. But I love the idea that, when they're a little bit older, that they can play outside and I don't have to worry about someone snatching them or something happening, because that is a huge reason why we did decide to move where we did. we really wanted that seclusion. I do also have to say that, you know, with my own experiences with, you know, with Hidden Meadows is that with, you know, like covenants, for example, I mean, there's just a lot that really isn't done. So, I mean, we've been wanting to set up our, I mean, granted there's COVID and everything, but like, our HOA is still not established. I mean, every time we reach out, it takes forever to hear anything back. There's a big pile of like farm garbage that's like right where that flag is, you know, and so to me, it's just, I don't know if I can really trust Hidden Meadows for another 8 houses to.
It's not Hidden Meadows. It's totally
It won't
different.
be.
Oh, it is. Oh, I guess I was looking at this.
He
Okay.
sold it, no, it's this.
Okay.
This
I was gonna say,
this development, no, it's
More
not.
Hidden Meadows.
But the property is being sold.
Oh, okay.
So Hidden Meadow would not be involved in this development.
Okay.
No
Yeah,
shed.
that makes me feel better too.
No shed
But
houses. Is it just gonna be all shed homes?
oh, see, we don't like the shed home look at all. And there's actually one of the properties that's sitting there that they just can't sell because that person had set up, you know, they did a ton of dirt work to be able to set it up for a shed home. And, you know, like that was against the covenants, and so it's just sitting there. And I mean, we have very nice homes. We like the look of that, and so to have a bunch of shed homes next to us, I mean, that's not what we really signed up for either.
You're not planning on putting shed homes in on that?
This is going to be a shed home community.
Yep. And I'm 110% against that. And
We don't have any covenants or any control over that.
yeah, and so I mean, especially since we have to, and we're literally right next to them,
And
I'm not
could
okay with
you
that.
tell me again exactly where you are?
So,
Are you on this?
yes, so,
If you
They're
look
north.
at the
They
back,
are north, right up here.
yeah, if you look at the back property,
They're north of what's.
so my drive is right where, and that was another question about the driveway,
our house is here.
where they're talking about having their other drive, like cut through, like join from ours, that's like right off my driveway. We have this circle drive.
Our house is here.
So we're the far back, if you're on 32nd, okay, sounds good. So it'd be right next to me.
And the other lady's right up
Okay,
so she's here.
she's here. Okay.
Yes.
And so they go through this area to get there, which is part of Hidden Meadows, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, and the driveway that's proposed is gonna come up here,
The driveway that's proposed in this one will be down
be
here.
down here.
Yes.
Okay, nothing here.
Now, one thing that is of note that I would mention to you ladies is that with the original proposal that was approved in 2017, that driveway accessing this was coming right by you.
Right, and we're
Yeah,
very
but
against that.
Right.
those homes would have been regular structural homes with, had to be certain square feet, had a stone siding, it would have replicated the houses that were
Right.
in our
The
section.
driveway was going to
Yeah.
come in here
Right.
Yep.
and access these 4 or 5 lots that were back here.
Yeah.
That is off the table now. It's going to come in
Yeah.
from the center here
Which
now.
is good, but then the homes were gonna be regular structural homes that had to have a stone face and had to be at least 1,600 square feet. You couldn't have an outbuilding bigger than, I have to look at the covenants, but I think it was like 20 by 40 or
Right.
20 by 20, something like that. So there was some restrictions of not devaluing the homes that were built by having a shed community or having shed homes. Like it was all gonna be a continuation of regular family single homes.
Because we do feel that by having shed homes, that is devaluing our homes. And I mean, the home right across from me just sold for $500,000. And so, I mean, we do have very nice homes, and we don't, I can tell you, yeah, we're just very against that. And again, I'm glad that it's not commercial anymore, and I'm also glad that the drive isn't coming off of ours, because with it not being, with it just being a gravel lane, I don't think that it would have been possible really to have that many extra homes coming off of a dirt road, but.
Can I speak up just here? Can I talk? So, when we decided to do this, there wasn't a whole lot of land to buy, to do a shed home. We looked into buying a lot down there, but it wasn't, we had to either buy it all or nothing. We're not just going to go to Menards, buy a shop kit, put up a square building, and that's it. And our covenants, it states 1,600 square foot minimum of living space, and it goes up if you got 2 floors, etc. The shop can't be bigger than, we don't want a big, huge behemoth shop. And it has to match nature. It's all in the covenants here where you either have to have stone, wood, or something like that facing front. So they'll all be very nice looking homes. That at bare minimum, you gotta have up to two different colors. A porch, again, so you just don't have a square building. You need to have a dormer come off the porch so it looks nice. We're not just going to go put more buildings out there. We're not heathens. You know where Beauchesne is? It's just east of Shellsburg, up on the hill. 2 acre lots, beautiful. That's where I live. But our covenants, we got a Connex. There's a guy back behind us, put a Connex up. 6 trucks in his yard. That's what I'm against. If you read our covenants, that's what we're trying to get away from. We want it to be a nice upper end. If you want to talk about money, take a look at what these houses are selling for. They're $500,000. So I understand where you're coming from. I don't want people to live by me either, but I don't own that land. If they want to build behind me, they're going to build behind me. I just pray it's not a 7-Eleven, you know, and that they're respectful.
Can we get your name?
Yes, Jackie Westhoff, and I live down here, south. Okay. Are you ladies, I don't want to interrupt you.
That's good, okay.
Okay.
Did you used to have is it like it had a sign for flowers?
Yeah, the Drenchell took care of that.
Oh,
I thought it was in Illinois, but it was actually in the field to the east of me. I also object for pretty much the same reasons that you have already expressed. I bought this property 2005, I believe it was, and I had been looking for it years upon years for a space that was away from other homes, that was in the country, that would be quiet, and this is disturbing to me because, like you, that's the attraction of this property. I knocked down an old home that had been abandoned there, and I've heard lots of different stories of how many years it had been there, but that was my dream area. And as far as more houses and more houses and more houses, I'm not happy about that at all. 6 houses would be bad, 8 houses is worse. Jake Anderson, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, owns what is on this plat as owned by Helen Anderson. Looks like a revocable trust.
Yeah.
Jake stopped at my house last week. He was intending to come to this meeting, but he texted me this morning about 5 o'clock and said something had come up and he couldn't come. But he also objects to any more homes. I don't know what plans he has for the amount of acres that he now owns or is a partial owner of, but he indicated to me that at some point he and his wife would like to build on somewhere on this acreage, and they are not planning on developing it ever, for the same reasons. They want to be in the country, they want it to be as free of human beings as possible, you know, and everything that comes with human beings. We're not antisocial, but that's why we move to the country, because it is open space. And the more and the more and the more housing developments, it's astonishing to me. I just drove in from Shellsburg, hadn't been down here to Benton for several years, many years. And here's a development, I can't even figure out now what direction, but it's, what do they call it? It's near the high school area, or as you're coming into town, around the ball diamond. That was never there. I was like, oh my God. And, you know, enough is enough. I mean, really, when you have purchased land with the idea that you are going to be able to enjoy, not pristine surroundings. The Rachel took care of that, certainly too, but we've got farming endeavors, and that's fine. Corn and beans are great neighbors. So, I don't know what more I can say. If Jake needs to write something in objection, he will do that. But he was actually intending, he really was coming. I got the text on my phone this morning. So, if that is acceptable, I will ask him if he could either, what does he have to do, write a letter, perhaps, or is this the final? I mean, he's lost his chance.
He should have at least sent a letter, called in, or showed up in person. If I may come back to you, and no offense, but I find it disturbing you haven't been to Benton for years, especially with Benton being the county seat.
May I interject here that my occupation was with a law firm in Cedar Rapids.
Sure, I get that.
So why would I be coming to Benton? It's probably been 3-4 years, I suppose.
Sure.
Occasionally I might come in, but for what reason would I need to come to Benton?
I understand that your daily commute would be to Cedar Rapids, where you would probably stop, pick up your needed items.
I work there and my family's all there.
I get that, totally get that. And however, your license plates, which you can get through the mail, I do understand, you know, you don't have to come to the courthouse for everything. So I just find it kind of odd that somebody living in Benton County doesn't ever get to Benton. So.
I have been to Benton because the derecho totaled my vehicle and I had to get a new vehicle. So whenever that was,
about a year and a half ago.
So that's the last time I was in Benton.
So that's.
But I don't understand.
Not quite years.
No, but
neither here nor there.
But I don't understand the relevance of why I hadn't been to Benton. I don't live in Benton, I live in Shellsburg.
Sure.
Anyone who lives in Lynn County has certainly not visited every area of Lynn County.
True.
Just the same as I do not visit every mile of Benton County.
Yep.
So I'm sorry that I feel offense to what you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's fine.
My original question, maybe you could answer. Has Jake missed his window? That's all I'm asking. Yes or no?
I'm going to ask a question with a question. Why weren't you here in 2017?
Because I never received anything in the mail about it.
Yeah, we sent out all the same notices pretty much.
Well, perhaps, but
obviously some owners have changed, like these are, but we sent out all of the notices back then, just like what we did now.
that very well may be, but I unfortunately was not, I didn't get it, or I didn't open it, or I opened it and didn't understand what it was, didn't think it applied to me.
And I'll say that I just built my house 2 years ago, so when the land was disclosed to us and we bought the house, we were not disclosed of the other parcel.
Yep, same here.
Until after we.
And you purchased.
We purchased in, it would have been December of 2018.
Alright.
And
So
we were never told that.
Yes.
shame on your realtors for not advising you of
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
property right here. Now, if I remember correctly, Mark, and this is the rectangle, jump in, Tracy, anytime you wish, that commercial lot was basically along the blacktop, correct?
Yes, it was. It was gonna be up front.
And the other 5 lots were towards the back.
They were,
Okay,
exactly,
5 residential lots,
yes.
which could have a house.
No, when he told us that it was part of the covenants and it would have the same type of houses that we
Have you
would
seen
have,
that in black and white?
just by what he had told us.
Okay, okay.
So,
So, if he changed his covenants, which happens, that would be allowed. Okay. Now, it's Jim, right? What business are you in, Jim? Can you ask?
I'm a maintenance supervisor at ADM.
Okay.
I don't do this for a living by any means. My wife and I are getting ready to retire. We want to get out of, our house is too big for us, and again, we're gonna have a camper that I don't want to store outside, pull it inside, you know, mowers and all that stuff. That's, to us, a single level chop house that looks, again, it's not going to be just a square box we drop it. So anyways, you asked what I do for a living. I work for ADM.
Okay. So, if you bought this as is, the way it is currently, as far as platted, you would be able to acquire 5 residential lots and 1 commercial lot if you buy this as is, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And other than whatever covenants are currently on there, if you, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm guessing that if in your purchase agreements, those covenants changed, you could then build your house.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm not an attorney. So, ladies, I would much rather have residential neighbors than a commercial neighbor. You know, commercial's gonna get you a wedding venue as it was planned, would have had you a lot more traffic on the weekends, a lot more noise.
I agree with you. I'd much rather have residential than commercial, and I did say that, but we are here to protest or, voice our opinions, and so, that's what we're doing. I realize that we have no say because we were not informed. But again, that's not our fault that we were not informed. And so our feelings of anger about things being developed when we were told they weren't is justified. And so, again, we're here to voice our opinions, and so that's all we can do.
I found the best way to control your neighbors is to buy it.
in a perfect world,
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd love to if I could,
Exactly, and none of us live in a perfect world.
No.
Yeah, none of us.
With all due respect, and again, with all due respect, am I right in thinking, because this is what I would have to do, to purchase this 17 acres, have no idea what land is worth at this point. It used to be $4,000 an acre when I was paying attention, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that now. So in order for you, or me, to afford that 17 acres, actually your only recourse, or one of your recourses, would be to accept the plat and sell off some of the acreage so that you yourself can afford to purchase it and to build what you would like for yourself. Am I way out of line there?
No. There's a lot of cost to put a road in, to put the wells in.
I understand all of that.
So yes, I'm not just out of the goodness of my heart, But I'm not doing this to make money because I'm not making.
No, I'm sure, but if it were me doing it, I'd say sure, because I could get the money if I needed it, and I could buy the whole thing, but then to be able to pay back, or to recoup my retirement account, let's just say, I would need to sell some of this off for lots to at least break even.
Okay.
Is that a
What's your
reasonable?
point? What are you getting
It's
at?
just my own curiosity.
Okay.
So, would it have to be 8 lots? Why does it have to be 8? If this has to be,
Because that's what we decided to go with, was 8.
because it will make more money that way, and you'll be able to break even perhaps. I don't know your economic situation, but the financial situation, that was what I was wondering.
And
Why
why
it has to
matters,
be 8
like, why
lots,
we
but
chose
then
this one.
the fewer houses, the better.
And in all due respect, the point of this hearing is to decide whether the land use change should be granted, nothing about his economic
I
situation.
understand that.
I was just curious.
And he didn't have to
I know I
answer
didn't
it
look
either.
closer, like, with my question.
Haven't heard that
Thank you for
YouTube.
answering.
In respect to the preliminary plat, I just wanted to mention this to you, that you notice that the preliminary plat obviously is different, and it states that it is a replat of lots 8 through 13 of Hidden Meadow 3rd Edition. Basically, we decided to do it in that manner so that there would have to be no vacation of the existing plat, assuming that this is approved. They would go ahead then and be the owners of it. The plat is reflecting, the outside boundary is not changing whatsoever from Hidden Meadow 3rd Edition. But the interior is, and so we're just doing it with the replat of that existing Hidden Meadow 3rd Edition. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then when you take action on this morning, we need to be looking at the decision on the land use change and the preliminary plat acceptance. And then I have one other item after that in regard to this.
And I do have one other question. So from where, I know that the original plans had it for, to just continue from our lane.
Correct.
So you're not going to do anything with our
We
lane?
will not.
Just
It'll
go
be-
down
Okay.
You won't have to worry about that going through traffic, because I looked at that, and I'm like, that's a lot of wear and tear.
That's what we felt too, and we've been scared about that for so long, so like, it's not a blacktop, it's not, and so with the little lane, it's like, oh.
It's give and take. I mean, if this goes through, you won't have to worry about your driveway anymore. I mean,
And I appreciate, like I said too, I appreciate what you're doing more than what they were gonna do. It's just, at the end of the day, like,
I get it, I understand.
I know you get it, I just, I don't need you.
My heart goes out to you because nobody, and you too, nobody wants.
Neighbors.
Right, but guess what, unless you own that land, unless you wanna go buy 500 acres and live in the middle of it, unless you own that land, you could have neighbors,
I'm very well aware of that.
so. Whether it's me or not, I mean, I could walk out here and call my wife and say, it's not going, so.
I guess if I look at it, it's a pretty simple situation. He can right now build 5 houses, right?
Yeah.
The way it's set up right now, and turn around, and I'm not gonna name a business, but put a business right on the road, a gas station, you know what I mean? Whatever, Or you can have the 8 houses. And he's not gonna come through your property either. It's pretty simple.
Excuse me. Is there a particular reason why there are 8 lots
That's what he wanted.
So it was,
and not 6? And I understand that also was a commercial lot, and we are dodging a bullet by not having it zoned.
Correct.
But fewer homes.
my main concern was just the well,
No.
just the water, and what that would do for us, and.
A max draw, it's like a 40-gallon a minute, because you'll be deep in the pocket for a while.
I know she draws more water per minute than I do.
I take a lot of baths in a
And-
big old tub.
And like, ours is,
Right.
so I was just curious of what extra strain that would be on the water table and.
Like I said,
And
Ultimately-
assuming with shed coverage, they're not gonna have basements, is it just on a slab?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, they can put a basement in, but it's kind of inefficient, otherwise I don't see anybody doing that.
I recommend
Concrete
doing
roofs.
it because the water table sits high.
Oh, does it?
there's
Down
some
the-
pump
So,
is,
which I wasn't told when we shared our plans, so there's 2 sub pumps running.
Appreciate that.
and they also had to spend $20,000 on a road basically because.
Good for home.
But what Jim is proposing, in my opinion, would have less impact on your area than what is currently platted for. So significantly less traffic than 5 houses in a commercial property. Because commercial property, I'm in the trucking business, and I'm gonna tell you, those trucks get loud, and they don't leave at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, so, and working on those trucks isn't a soft-spoken type of business. You know, so, I mean, it could be worse.
Right. And truly, I mean, I know for a fact that there's nothing that anybody can do unless I magically win the lottery, you know, to buy it and have it sit as a field. And so I know that, you know, no matter what, something is going to go there. And I mean, am I super happy about that? No, because I do want the seclusion, but at least the field behind us is still, for now, I guess, a field. Now that one I'll throw a tantrum. So I don't want to be completely surrounded. But I mean, this is, and I mean this in a nice way, this is the lesser evil to me. So, because I do not want, I actually have worked in, a lot of what I do is, I just worked at the Olympic Southside Theater. You know, like I'm in the venue business. I don't want a wedding venue. You don't want a wedding venue.
Well,
right.
And again,
That's true, he never really was.
You know, the Anderson Trust, whoever's renting that land, and you mentioned a name, I apologize, can't remember that.
It's her grandson, Jake.
Okay, all right. The grandson should have been here, you know, a couple years ago. Since you've owned this in 2005, you should have been notified if you didn't see it. That happens. A few years ago, should have been here. I would have thought that would have been a bigger grumbling, you know, with a commercial lot out there than what happened. I mean, virtually nobody opposed it. So, anyway, moving on. Other questions or comments? Gary, got any comments? Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this preliminary plat.
I'm sorry.
I made the motion, and Gary just seconded that we approve this preliminary plat. I think it's a much better use of the area. It would conform much better than having a commercial lot there.
I think he addressed your questions.
And I'll give you guys my phone number, my wife's phone.
Mark, it doesn't have the approved plat on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
You don't have that on the agenda to approve, it's just the land use hearing.
It says discuss and approve variance.
Okay, it's a resolution.
Yeah, but we're approving the land use change request, and with that comes the preliminary plat, so I was asking to go ahead and approve that in that same motion.
Perfect. Just making sure I understood.
Call for a vote.
Primer, aye.
Cruikshank, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Okay.
I hope everybody gets on there.
The final part of this is that our subdivision ordinance also requires that there be open space created with a platted subdivision. And when that ordinance was created back in 2000, one of the things that was going on at that time in the discussion about open space requirements is the fact that the people that were working with Benton County Zoning Commission at that time were all proposing that we have what's called cluster subdivision. That's like a little town out basically where you're at. There could be 30 houses on a small tract like this with that particular proposal. Well, anyway, the ordinance also then said that we should have open space. Well, that was assuming that we weren't gonna have individual wells, individual septics, and 2-acre lots. And the open space requirement is that there's supposed to be a ½ acre set aside as open space, an additional 1/10 of an acre for each lot. What I'm indicating to you is and we've done this previously with some of our subdivisions, is when you have a 2-acre lot, is it necessary to have that much open space set aside other than what they already have with their lot? In other words, if I wanted to have room for my kids to play on a 2-acre lot, there basically should be room for that And so the question then becomes is would you entertain the idea of varying that requirement that they not have the open space earmarked into this preliminary plat? In addition to what they already have. And we did that with the last subdivision too, by the way, because they're basically, they were larger lots, all of them.
Larger than just a building site.
Pardon me?
Larger than just a building site.
Right.
Normal lot like you'd see within an incorporated area.
Right. So the request is would you then grant variance to the open space requirement, which is Article 7, Section 7.01 of the subdivision ordinance.
So he can actually build on the whole lot, cover it in buildings?
No,
No,
I don't know, 2-acre houses.
no.
no.
The,
I'm sorry.
the 2-acre requirement basically is, as I was stating, cluster versus this type of development, you've got open space anyway, in between homes. Like I said, if this subdivision ordinance had been done, well, it's in our subdivision ordinance, if they had proposed a cluster subdivision, there could have been 30 houses right out here. And obviously then the need is there for that open space requirement, because they're all gonna have town-sized lots out in the country. And then there's the central sewer that would have to have been built, the central water system, and it's, in this particular instance, the open space is done because of the fact we have a 2-acre requirement if we're looking at individual well and septic systems.
When they're saying like open space, they're referring to like a little park for kids to play, essentially, is out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But variance is gonna do away with that, right?
The variance does away with the fact that they'd have, basically what they'd have to do is take away part of a lot, one of the lots, and then have this open space there that, like he said, it could be a community type park or something like that.
Okay. I understand now. Everybody else got it? No?
I'm not sure that I get it.
Okay.
The area, total area, ½ acre plus 1/10 for every lot, correct?
Right.
So we're talking about 1¼ acres approximately would have to be set aside as open area.
Right.
And if we required that, then they could build multiple buildings on their lot and essentially cover their lot with buildings. If they wanted to, right?
But you'll have covenants against that.
Yeah.
The covenants are gonna prevent that.
So the covenants are preventing it, so why do we need to?
No, for the green, I understand.
I understand, there's gonna be green space here.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, there's gonna be green space naturally.
Yes.
Yes.
I look at the problem, yeah, if we don't grant this, you're gonna have that 1.5 acres sitting there. Who's gonna be responsible for mowing?
Mowing, insurance,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
There's all kinds of instances in the
No,
past where that
I-
became an
That's
issue.
why, that's why I think, no,
I agree.
Because as you sell lots, then who owns that spot?
right,
Does he continue to own it?
right.
And so that becomes a
All
another
work.
So it's just a question then, if indeed you're interested in doing that, then you would grant the variance to the open space requirement.
We did it before.
We have.
Yeah, it was done, the variance is right now, was on the 5 acres with, commercial lot, correct?
Yes, we had,
We had it on there.
there was no open space requirement for what exists right now. We buried that the last time.
It was buried last time, I don't have a problem with it being buried again.
Okay.
You know, I mean, technically, he could take these back lots, or even these, and shuffle everything, so everything is exactly 2 acres, and you can put it over the hill someplace.
Then again, you have to get insurance for
let it grow up to
internally.
timber or whatever.
If somebody was back and they fall down, they get hurt.
I get it, it's a liability issue, so, yeah. Well, then I'll make a motion that we grant that variance as well.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll call for a vote.
Is this by resolution?
Yes.
Primer aye.
Senior
Aye.
aye. There you go.
Okay, very good. Okay, yeah.
That's it.
That's it, Mark?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alright, we're gonna ask since Gary's not here and you want it now. The resolution signed.
You need it now, Mark? Pardon me? You need it now? We'll do it
Okay. Then I'll get Gary's signature Friday. We're gonna go Friday.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Did you hear,
Nice.
Most of the time.
I don't, I'm on the, it's usually, it's the down we have always, it's just,
Alright, so you guys are behind the schedule on this.
yeah.
I was just gonna worry
You
about
wanna see that? You wanna see a neighbor? That's my neighbor.
That's that
So,
one.
wanna see the lot line setback? Utility pole, my lot, that's
thank you. Thanks, guys.
where they put it there.
Do I need
It's about
anything
2
else?
foot spot.
Maybe Mark will have you, yeah.
It's commercial. That's what should have in the country.
Just,
Okay, so do you wanna do the bid or the bond stuff first, since we're behind? Alright, so I emailed you kind of this morning, but it is basically the loan agreements, we need approval, and the resolution in regards to all that.
So now there's a final plat process and we'll get that.
I know, so there's that
Here we
out of
are.
the way.
Okay.
Good luck, Jim.
Running in the bank.
So if you guys wanna look at these again, I know I emailed you this morning, Gary, I don't know if you got your emails. Basically, about the same thing we did last week, the bond, the 5.5 million.
I don't for positive, but I don't think it's real high, no, I think it's similar to this. Oh, I don't remember that, no, I don't.
Yeah, I'm here, Gary. He's getting
Ever decides to
The
sell
charger, so you,
any more of
this
this
thing doesn't die on you, the phone doesn't
field
die.
surrounds me, it's off to the south.
Yeah.
the phone's dying.
Know if this
We're running out of power. I got the charger on it. Hear me?
You know, cause Larry sold me this 3 acres.
No, it says you still
Because
here.
my
Gary, you there?
Knew that I was interested.
You guys still there?
in this piece of
Yes.
land.
Can you hear us,
I
Gary?
would really be upset if somebody
Gary.
buys this out from under me.
We wouldn't, if indeed he sold it, we wouldn't know. The only reason
I
we
would
wouldn't is if someone proposed to
say we'll
change the
just-
use of it.
If I need to review it again,
Let's say I bought it.
Oh, you shouldn't have to, but if you wanna look at it, cause what we're gonna
You
do is
wouldn't
approve the
necessarily notice,
resolution.
right? Our office and then
Signatures on
you
these loan
notice it's gonna
agreements.
happen. When we get
Authorizing
involved
the
is
issuance of
here
the
where they're
bond.
wanting
So
to
your
change
motion
the
still
use.
around?
you
Yes.
got it.
So let's say if I bought this, and then I
Second.
decided I wanna do this here, then
Gary,
get
you there?
notified because I have to make application to the town.
I don't call back.
Well, maybe I'll be dead.
Or hang
Yes, I better call
Maybe
back.
I'll be dead.
Yeah, let's have a call back and go.
Oh, I'm not
Because
gonna
it's
do it.
Yeah.
been a long day.
So,
Gary.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You have one, did we bump it?
I don't, nobody touched it. I mean, all of a sudden. You got-
Morning. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
How's it going? Good.
I don't know, is it, the speaker was on the phone? Oh, we were there, he's driving.
No, he's sitting in the hospital.
Oh, that could be bad
That
too.
should be bad.
Someone supposed to do it.
I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
So,
we could hear you, so
yeah,
we're agreements and all that now. Okay, Gary,
For the bonds, Primer,
for the bond issue,
so we need a vote, it's a resolution, Primer made the motion, Tracy seconded, but I need a vote for you guys to approve it and then authorize signatures on these documents.
Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Pearson, aye.
There you go.
Alright, thank you. What, you do the bid stuff? I think
You're gonna
it's-
do that right now?
Yeah, Ben's not up to that yet.
Anybody need to send that?
And before you go, I'll make you do all these signatures.
Throwing me one of those sugar balls.
Yep.
I got a tickle in my throat. If you would, please.
You have.
That's not cold.
Well, now it's on the chair.
You're good.
The what?
Thank
You
you.
got the old ones in there?
Yeah, I think those are right.
I'll let you look through them. Okay, get a new one in there, and then you got a letter opener.
And then we did not get any more, I just checked with the girls, so. Never mind, I mean, responded to you. I'm like,
I was gonna write something like, I'm gonna be in there in a couple minutes anyway. I had a slew of stuff
I'm
for
like,
this
never
agenda
mind, all that is
today.
already on there.
Yeah.
I just got your
I just,
attachments.
I know we always have to change that number at the top or whatever, so I just,
I'll do it now.
but then I thought after the fact, I'm like, well, I didn't have one signed by him, you know, cause you'll have to have that probably to change it anyway, so.
And I'll get it done Friday, cause Gary's not here to sign it, but
Oh,
He's
okay, yeah,
called
that's fine.
just trying to fill up our Friday morning meeting.
What's, yeah. Yeah, I looked at that today and I always, it's always kind of in the back of my mind, like, okay, I gotta get that resolution and all that paperwork ready, and it seems like I always had the same panic moment, and I looked at my paperwork from last year, it was almost the same exact
Time
board
frame.
meeting. So, yeah,
And I'll number it accordingly as I go, so.
yeah, that'll work out good.
Are these the old ones?
There could be the old one in there, but there should be one new one.
The old ones are the ones you just opened the new ones for him, right?
Yeah, you should have had one
Should've
sent,
cost it.
you should have had one sent,
And then
from the guy from Cedar Rapids,
I don't think I got one.
cause he was gonna rebid it, remember?
Yeah, the one I talked to him about.
Yes.
I don't remember getting one. Cause what was his name was,
He's got bids here.
yeah, but if I got him new, I would print it and file stamped it.
This is file stamped February 10th.
So that was another one. Is the other one changed at all?
Cause the feet were all, remember?
Still is.
Yeah.
Let me look at the name, but I don't remember getting the other one, cause these come from the other mail.
I called him, he was supposed to be
Yes,
sent.
you did.
Gary, still there?
Yep.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm off and on.
Okay, we got a bid, from Dan Wertan from Atkins. About what, $175,250, alright?
Yeah.
$175,250.
Is that the only bid you got?
Well, the old bid we got from, the guy from Cedar Rapids, he was supposed to just send a new one, with the new measurements, and he never did.
I'm going back to my emails, I'm not seeing any. And I get a lot of emails every day, but.
Cause his footage, his square footage was off, if you remember, from 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
I do. Yep, we went out there and measured it.
Yeah.
What's he rolled it up?
This was his old one. That's his old one.
From Word name.
Yeah, that's the old one.
What was his new one's amount again? Cause you just opened that one.
Combined,
Do the math.
Total.
175,250 is what Tracy has here.
Do the
Okay.
math. On here, so,
Oh, me?
yeah, you do the math.
Well, I'll do
Old one was
calculator.
118.
I did old school.
That's fine.
But this gentleman said he was gonna keep the same amount, just fix his dimensions.
Right.
Is what I thought too.
Right,
So maybe he just thought that was his verbal,
okay.
because he said his amount wasn't gonna change. So that's up to you guys, I guess, to call or, but I just went back and looked, cause I would've found standard again. I don't see it.
All right.
That is correct, Tracy.
What do you wanna do?
Well, if you look at this bid, and you haven't, other than the area you have here is 15 by 25. His bid is 14 by 25. Okay. And it's 5.5 inches thick. The other dimensions are correct, the 90 by 45 and the 115 by 200. So that other bid you have, no, it's right there, and that has an incorrect number on that.
Yeah.
200 by 15
Right.
instead of 115.
Yep.
All right, so both of them again have got an incorrect measurement. Do we call them both again and ask them if they are going to go with this one 25 by 15 and that one make sure it's the 200 by 115, which he said at that time was. And if he's sticking by that, that's your low bid.
I can call it, you wanna do it right now during the meeting?
We're gonna come back to it now.
I think we'll come back
To
to
the
it
end, since we don't have.
because he's a timed item and
You follow that so far, Gary?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a mess.
and this is 5.5 as well
Yeah.
for thickness. So I mean, everything is correct except they each have one
Small
error in their measurement. Yeah. In their, so I think we need to get a clarification
Okay.
and go from there. Here's your,
Well, at least we know we got the mental health approval.
thank God.
Does that mean we have to reprint or
No, no, no,
the paper?
No, no,
Good deal.
no.
yeah. So now we can go to Ben.
Yep.
Okay, so, last September, I hired George Hefner as my assistant roadside biologist, and the
Yeah.
agreement.
Can I get you in a chair, probably get over here so Gary can hear you?
Come on.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
That's the only thing.
I didn't think that.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I don't have a problem if you wanna pull up on the corner.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
sit
that's
there.
fine.
Oh my crap.
Make sure that I'm doing this. Pardon my massive amount of paperwork here.
Hey, we all take a few trees, branches on the tree.
I think I may have killed a couple with this one, so.
I think I got the award this last month for budget stuff.
Was it? Yeah, yeah, that probably
You
takes
won
the
the-
cake.
Well,
Tree
Ben used to
killer
give a
award.
little award out, like if it was an election time
Oh,
or
yeah.
whoever in our office got the most.
Okay, so last September I hired George Hefner as my assistant roadside biologist, and the agreement that I made with him upon hiring him, since he didn't have his CDL and pesticide applicator's license at that time, was that I was going to start him at $20.19 an hour, which was equivalent to like $42,000 a year. And upon completing those certifications, then he would get a bump to 45,000-ish range which is about $1.45 per hour pay increase to $21.64 per hour. So he just recently finished up after deal on CDL. He's fully certified now. He's got his Class A CDL with all the endorsements we need and his pesticide applicator's license with all the categories we need. So I was coming in for approval today to increase his pay from $20.19 an hour to $21.64.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
And I am not going to
Yep.
jump in on this.
Okay.
All right. Roll call. Aye.
It's not a resolution.
No. What ain't?
No.
No, but the motion carries, you're abstaining, so then it's still stating their vote.
And I have
Yep.
plenty in my budget and everything
Yep,
for it.
okay,
I accounted
okay.
for it. So
And it is a Class A.
yeah, yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so
It's
he'll be
not a
able
B,
to.
it's an A.
Yep, he'll be able to go out. He really has no restrictions, so he'll be set up pretty good for doing anything now. So next on the agenda, I had discuss and approve the seasonal hiring for this coming spray season. So what I'm looking to do is hire another intern, primarily to do prescribed burning with us in the spring, tree clearing, herbicide application. They do a lot of prairie management stuff in the summertime, and then they also help us with seeding projects in the fall. We've been paying them a wage of $15 an hour, and after going back and looking through what's competitive right now in like the seasonal conservation market, I think we're towards the top of that pay range, and for what they're going to be doing, I think that's competitive. So I'm looking for one person for that, and then I have to hire 2 seasonal spray truck drivers that need a Class B CDL with tanker and air brake endorsements. So that's the other one. I'm looking for, I guess, permission to do that today. I've looked at what the pay range is right now on those types of positions, and I think last year we were paying around $18 an hour for Class B operators. It seems like that number's gone up from the research that I did. It looked like just from, and maybe you can comment on this, Rick, or if you know from the co-op, like what they're paying, but it looked like the range was somewhere in the $19 to $21 an hour range. So I would like to try to bump that up a little bit from last year at the minimum, just to try to get more applicants in, because we have historically got just enough to fill our jobs, and I'm always worried that if we don't get one of those people coming back, then we aren't able to run the spray trucks. So
are you looking for some leeway of this 19 to 21?
yeah, so this is what I was thinking, is I would like to start the base wage at 19, because I think the $1 an hour is in the competitive range from what I've seen online. But I would like to incentivize the guys over time for sticking around, and one of my spray truck drivers usually goes above and beyond with what he's doing for us. So he operates equipment and hauls stuff with his CDL and does different things as well. So what I thought about doing was offering, advertising it at that pay range or whatever, and then have it broken out by like a number of years that they've worked here. So like 1 to 2, you get 19, 3 to 4, you make 20, 5 plus, you make 21 if they stick around that long. Was my idea. I guess I kind of got that idea because I know conservation, when I worked there, they had advertised their seasonal positions that way, just to try to encourage people to stick around. And those people tend to have more experience, and we don't have to train them as much on the stuff that we do. So I guess I was going to get you guys' opinion on that.
Previous drivers that you had for the spray trucks, are some of them coming back?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
The one has told me like every year he kind of, usually March, beginning of April, he lets me know. And I have one other former secondary roads employee that's interested in driving a know he's at least got a Class B CDL, so.
Well, my opinion, I would start the new guy probably at least 19, if not 20.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
And the previous guy coming back, if he's been doing it year
This
after
is
year.
year 5 for him, so I kind of would like to
I'd probably look
compensate
at
him.
21.
Okay, that's what
My opinion.
that's what I was thinking, because I really wanna give them, you know, and he does a lot, like he's doing more than just driving the truck, and I think it's worth that wage, and they've only been working 3 to 4 months out of the year, so I have plenty in my budget to accommodate that wage, I guess. You know, if they worked 8 months out of the year, it might be a different story,
Right.
but,
I don't have a problem with it.
You got 2 degrees right now. Gary, you on it?
Yeah,
Okay, there you go, all 3 of us. Go
Okay.
back in.
so you would like me to start maybe at the $20 an hour range, just.
On these individuals.
Okay.
But your range I'm giving you is 19 to 21.
19 to
You get somebody new off the street.
Yeah.
Never done it before.
Yeah, and it is gonna get more complicated here. I have to talk to you guys about the whole CDL thing later, but
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, I know all
it's
about
gonna
it.
get
Yes.
a lot more difficult to get people that,
Okay.
So do you need, and your intern, you think is okay at that 15?
it's competitive right now. So how I normally gauge this is, Conservation has this website, it's called My County Parks, and that's where most of these types of jobs are advertised. Right now, I think our internship pays right at the top of the range. I think the only other county that's paying similarly is Johnson County, so some of their seasonal conservation aides make about 15. I mean, I'm open to suggestions on it too, that's just kind of where.
Well, again, you can't pull a high school kid out there. It's not like you're putting them on a mower and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so you're actually asking somebody to work with controlled burn.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may need a range there as well.
Yeah.
You may need that 15 to 18 range.
And I'd be comfortable with that if you guys are okay with that.
It gives you an opportunity, you know, it's hard enough to get people in the door.
Yeah.
And when they get there, you don't want them to turn their nose up.
Intern one now?
Yes.
So what was that range?
15 to 18.
Yeah, and I think that would be fair if we had somebody come in that has a lot of experience. At least it'd give me some flexibility to incentivize and, you know, maybe have them come work for us rather than another employer, so.
Okay, well then I'll make a motion that we authorize you with an intern to pay them range of $15 to $18 per hour, and your drivers 19 to 21.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, moving right along. So the next thing I'm gonna talk about is noxious weed paperwork for the year. So every year I have to advertise in the paper that we are enforcing the noxious weed law, which is chapter 317 of the Iowa Code. So I have a resolution here. I'll give you guys to look over. It's basically the same from last year with same enforcement date on it. I set the day as May 1st. And the main reason that I usually set that a little bit earlier is just so that if we do have a complaint come in, we can act on it, because I technically can't send weed complaints until after that date is passed. So, and then there is a notice for roadside spraying in here. I had set the start date as May 2nd. After talking with my drivers from last year, I think we can get started a little bit earlier. The difficulty is always trying to hit the right time when the brush is ready to be sprayed and the broadleaves, but I think we're gonna start a little earlier, maybe miss out on a little bit of the brush, but hopefully get more thistle control within the window we need to before they start seeding out. We're gonna be doing the same no spray sign policy and signing system this year, and then there's a notice in here for organic farmers and vineyards, basically to contact me if they, so that I know where they're at basically in the spring, so.
Okay.
So you need a motion to approve your noxious weed resolution?
Yep.
For 22. I'll make that motion.
Gary?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just put the number on it, so I'll print it out with number 2219.
Okay, so you can just print it off of there,
Yeah.
and, okay, yeah, that way when the Gary's here, you guys can. Okay, sign her, and I'll get it in the paper then.
Okay.
Okay, so last thing I had was I did get all my bids together for the track loader that we had discussed, so, I don't know how you guys normally do this, just because I, haven't purchased a piece of equipment this way, but I do have 3 bids. Basically what I did, and I think I talked to Tracy about this previously, but I talked to Doug at Secondary Roads, and I called a few other equipment operators and basically went through the list of brands and took recommendations on everything and took you guys' feedback into account, took service into account, and I got 3 bids, one from Case, Cat, and Kubota, and they're all spec'd the same, more or less, so I don't know if you wanna look through those quick.
Read them all.
Okay, so, Case provided one for the Case TR310B, that was $57,200. And I had them give us the option of high flow hydraulics. I don't know if it is, I kinda wanna get you guys' opinion on that. The only thing we probably really need that for is if we were ever gonna get a forestry mower like Conservation has. If you don't ever want me to get something like that, then that would drop, he said, roughly $2,300 off that price.
You said 57 too?
50, yeah, the price he provided me was $57,200
That's with the high flow.
with high flow. Without high flow, it would be 54,000-ish. I can do the math on that if you want me to. Cat provided me their comparable unit. It's a Cat 289D3. The price on that municipal pricing was $76,987, and high flow was on an addition to that. So he had told me that I believe it was an extra $5,000 or something like that. Oh, here it is on the back. XPS high flow option, $5,500, which would bring the price somewhere $82,000 roughly if we did add high flow. And then the Kubota unit that I had got an estimate on previously for these units was $54,400 for government pricing. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yep.
And that's high flow.
That's a good question. I can't remember if that was with high flow or not. I don't think that was. It says option high flow hydraulics. I think when I had this bid, I wasn't intending to get high flow, but I wanted to at least give you guys that option. I could have, it would obviously be on top of that. So I'm guessing unit wise, the Case and the Kubota are pretty similar on price without high flow hydraulics. The Cat is a little more expensive than that. So.
Do you see a need in the future to do the forestry type?
Oh man.
Does that basically go out through the brush?
Yeah, so there are some times where it would be nice. We do have a big brush hog for the front of the skid loader that we have already that doesn't require high flow. It would be nice. The units are fairly expensive, but I can get an LRTF grant to fund a portion of that too. I want to say it's somewhere around $15,000 to go towards that. It's really a toss-up. I mean, a lot of the stuff we can do with the mower that we have, but there are instances where it'd be nice, but that obviously comes at a cost. So I don't know if that's, I haven't really come up with a determination if.
Well, it would be easier and less expensive, I would think, to have that at this time, the high flow.
Yeah.
And be prepared.
If we do.
And it sure isn't gonna hurt the operation of the unit anyway.
Yeah.
Correct?
And Doug, I've talked to him quite a bit in depth about this at Secondary Roads, and he said for $2,000, he thought it was worth adding that on, just because of then your flexibility of running attachments in the future. I'm budgeted well enough to be able to accommodate accommodate for that, but, and I should say too, so these units are slightly bigger than the one that I had originally talked to you guys about. I was looking at a 65 horse unit roughly, when I came in the first time, but after talking with all of the people I did, they recommended going a step up, and we do still fall below that point where we need DEF in the machines. So these are like 74.3 horse machines or something.
So what I get, if that was $2,300 on the case, for the high flow, and that was 57.2.
Yep.
Without it'd be about 54.9.
Yep.
And Kubota's 54.4 without. The question is, what is it with?
Yeah, and I can get that for you pretty easily if you guys want. I think the other thing after talking with a few people that probably is worth considering is just proximity for service. I mean, that is going to be the one thing.
Where's Kubota at?
That is out of Ames. So I can get the case serviced at either, I'm assuming Blairstown or Center Point, which is much more convenient. So what's that, Gary?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
but I think we need to get all the bids. I don't know if we can do it right now, but
We
if
got,
we can't, we'll have to come back.
we got all the bids for the skid loader,
Okay.
okay? You got a piece of paper, or can I just tell it to you?
You tell me.
All right.
Skid or track loader?
Or track loader, sorry.
We call it track loader.
It's a skid loader.
Yeah.
Case, he's got a bid for case, 57.2, that's for 75 horse. And that's with the high flow, that'll run like a mower. You got a bid from Cat for 76,987, that's Cat. And Kubota's 54.4. We don't think the high flow is in on that bid. But he can subtract the 2,300 off a case, which puts them down to 54,900. So they're about $500 higher, case is than Kubota. But I agree with them, what we're looking at, to get it serviced, you got two places here, one in Benton County and one just outside of Benton County, Center Point. Kubota would be in Ames.
Yeah, I'd say we go probably the case.
The other thing I should mention too is that I know Bruce I talked to is a salesman at Center Point. He deals with like the construction end of the equipment. They do have units coming in April. Now I have heard Cat didn't give me a good idea when that, we're trying to spend the money before the end of the fiscal year too. So as far as like getting a unit, he's pretty confident that we can get one. But it sounds like most of them are going to be pre-sold. So he said basically if we do decide that's the route we want to go, we probably need to get our name on one so that we can get it, within the time frame. So
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the case bid
Okay.
with the high flow.
Okay. Rick just made a motion to approve the case with the high flow. You want to second it, Gary?
Yep, second.
All right, I'll make a vote call.
You're saying aye.
Okay,
Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
It wasn't a resolution.
No, I know, but I just.
That was-
So with the high case,
Case,
it was more than, that's
That was
57.2
higher.
total, right?
yeah,
57.2,
57.2.
including the,
And you can call them when you get back to your office.
okay, yep, I'll get it going then. Because that was the main thing I was concerned about was just
Okay.
right now supply chains. It's kind of. I think that's everything I had for you guys today. I probably next week I have got chemical bids, so that's something we'll have to discuss, and I'll bring that in next week. So, yeah.
Alrighty.
So, excellent. Well, thank you guys.
okay.
And then she will
Thank
have
you.
that printed off on Friday to sign. in the paper?
Yeah, if you wanna just email it over to me, I'll get it out to the
Did
papers.
you publish the resolution or just the notice?
I think the resolution has to be published.
Okay.
I think we've done that in the past. It was the resolution, the no spray, or the spray notice and the organic.
Okay, yep, I'll get their signatures Friday on that.
Okay.
You always print the resolutions anyway.
Well, I just got it before you come over here, so.
I know it, I mean, you print it with the minutes, right?
Yes.
So.
If that would-
Yeah, so why do you wanna?
Oh, that's fine. I mean,
follow
yeah.
me?
I mean, it's included in our minutes, but if he wants a signed copy for publication, I will get your wet signature and
Let me check on it and see like what we exactly have to do, cause yeah, if we don't, I mean, there's no point in double publishing it, so.
Yeah, it's published in the minutes for sure. Well, but I
'Cause I think
summarize, but if you tell me not to, I'll
I
publish it.
suppose the only thing I'd worry about is technically, like, we have to do that per the law. Man, I don't know if it has to be, I would assume it probably would have to be shown as signed, just so then, like, if we ever have to go through that process, they might like, I don't know, slap our hand about that or something, but I don't know. We've never also went to an enforcement either, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
awesome.
Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Do you have anything for the agenda Friday since we're meeting Friday morning? Trying to fill the gap between 9 and 9:30.
Talked about the township.
Nope.
Yeah.
Tried.
But,
Yeah. She was gonna listen to the union, because like I said, we just appointed somebody last year.
Yeah, I think now that you said that, I'm pretty sure we did him.
Yeah.
Because he did both places. Or no, I had somebody different on it.
Yeah.
So.
so we're back to the bids.
Yes, we are.
And I'm gonna
Make
send
that
you
phone call.
what I just
Yeah.
summarized before I,
Oh,
just make sure I got it,
on the,
minutes for the quotes and stuff.
Oh, I think.
Oh, for the track loader.
Yeah, just for all those three.
do you need anything specific from me on that? Like, do you need
As long as you have documentation somewhere in case it's asked
of like the bids and stuff? Yeah, I'll just keep them in a file in my office then.
So that's fine, I don't need them, as long as somebody's got them, if they were to refer to them, so.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'll
We do get asked for that stuff periodically.
or I can email them to you too if you want them in an email. It's no big deal.
I'll just send them to you.
Okay.
Relaxing time, Rick?
Sounds good.
It was great.
Good.
I
I saw some pictures.
did some work, but it was
Nice.
great weather, no humidity,
It's even better.
so, yeah. You didn't get hurt up north, I take it?
I didn't even have to go to the chiropractor this time.
You did biff it once off the trailer though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did pirouettes.
Yes, could I talk to a Mark Bertrell? Tracy Seaman, Benton County Supervisor. Give me that animal phone, I'm gonna switch over to my old phone. Yeah.
You have to switch back?
Another piece of junk. Yes, Mark. Tracy Seaman, Benton County Supervisor. You guys put a bid in on our parking lot. And if you remember here 3 weeks ago when we were going through the bids on that opening, you guys had, you forgot a 1 on your bid. And then evidently you never did send a new bid. Yes. No, at 9 o'clock this morning. No. Okay. Well, the deal is, your bids, it's gonna stay the same, you're just gonna have the new extra 1 in there, right? Okay, that's what I wanna confirm, and the girl did send it out this morning. Okay, would you send it again?
Okay, email me.
Okay, she's doing it right now. She thought that
What about,
bids openings was at 1 o'clock today.
Oh, no, the original one was.
Yeah, see, that's what the original one was. 1 o'clock. Yep, the original one.
what about the 1 foot, addition in the back, Tracy?
That's the other guy.
Okay.
Yes, so. Okay, she's gonna send it to you. All right, that's
Email
all I
or
need.
mail?
What's that?
Is it coming by email or mail?
Email, right? Yeah, she sent an email, so she's doing it right now.
Okay, so I have it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Bye.
Okay, so it is supposed to be the 115,
Yes.
and the price did not change?
No,
Okay, alright.
and he's cheaper.
And so, is there any sense in even calling the other one?
No.
Okay, then I will make a motion, we accept the low bid.
Okay.
Second.
And it was, you wanna read those off?
Okay, we got a bid from Citywide Construction for $171,593.12. You, I got that. Yeah. And then from Workane Concrete Incorporated, $175,250.
So the low bid is the Citywide.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Rick made a motion. So far, Rick made a motion, Gary, to accept the guy from Cedar Rapids.
I seconded it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought you did.
Okay, second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, okay. Now I can call him back after you get the new one sent to you.
Mm-hmm, yeah. It's not come through yet.
I think we'll be much happier with concrete.
This weekend was not fun.
Oh, it was a mess.
Yeah.
It was not fun. That's why I
I see you've been busy, you can tell by the hallway.
really? Well, you're good.
You tracking in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just meant all the stuff.
I got the wall.
But that's why I'm
I
here this
got- yeah,
weekend.
Yeah, I got the walls out, and the walls in it,
Is that everything for this meeting?
so that's pretty well it.
Other than reports.
Yeah, you got any reports, Gary?
Nope.
Okay.
We got a meeting tonight.
Yep,
Yep, I've got a couple reports. He doesn't have to hang around for.
okay,
What's
yeah,
your meeting tonight?
and recent,
Oh, yeah, and then Friday morning, we have a meeting too,
yep.
9 o'clock.
Friday, we're up here, Gary,
Okay.
so.
9 o'clock.
About
9 o'clock, right or
That's for our
supervisor?
maximum levy notice hearing.
Oh, okay.
So if you have anything little that needs on before 9:30, otherwise I'm gonna put the township cost back on
Okay,
there.
that's fine. And then you can check to see if we gotta fill anybody,
Yes, I know we did for that.
okay?
Okay. I'll see if I can find somebody.
I don't
Well,
think you
I
have
think
to.
we're good on Union, but Benton Township. So,
Okay. We don't
You
need any,
need some?
go ahead,
Go ahead.
Benton Township, over
Benton
by
Township,
Shelburne, you know.
by
like-
Shelburne.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know many people up there. But I'll see if I can find somebody.
Okay. Alrighty, that should do it, Gary. What? Rick's got a few reports, but you don't have to hang around to listen to that if you want to.
Well, I can listen for a minute.
Okay.
It's no big deal. Alright, well,
Just sit there.
had a K-cap,
Okay.
and they were going through a annual reports, etc. And I thought this was quite interesting. I believe there are, I have 4 different locations here marked, and which I'll show you. I did not total and this is non-cash assistance, dollar amount in non-cash assistance, basically food, okay? And if you converted that to the dollars, this is what, the value, this is what they'd be. Interesting part is, rule of thumb is, did you need something?
No, I wasn't sure you guys were done. I was gonna get a copy of the bid you guys approved.
Oh, okay.
So, whatever you guys are
All right.
doing, somebody let me know.
Very good, thank you. You'll also have to give Penny a copy of the bids. Okay. But, for example, the food pantry, Benton County Food Pantry, First Avenue, which is ACAP down there, the congregate meals. The equivalent dollar value was $138,674 last year. Each dollar, they figured, will buy 6 meals.
Really?
So can you imagine how many meals that is? But there are 4 different locations here with those meals.
Okay.
And the food bank stuff.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Had 2 meetings with them last week, and so they're still doing Zoom meetings. It's going to be a couple months before they go back to in person. Also had Central Iowa, and Central Iowa, as far as meetings, it is a combination of Zoom as well as in person there. And what you find is the people from further distances are doing the Zooming. And it was an 1.5-hour meeting, and then it went into a legislature luncheon where they invite people, elected officials from the legislature, so to do our lobbying, I guess you'd say. But here is some information on Central Iowa juvenile detention there, where we're standing as far as money spent on detention. So here's that. And that's about it. How about you, Tracy?
I had Eastern Iowa Housing and Easy Talk. And I thought, I bought this up for you, Rick, you can take this home, it's just a thumb through it. The houses that we helped here in Benton County, there's quite a few. The best way to just work through it.
Sure.
Just take it home. But one thing I thought was interesting was Easy Cause. They give an up-to-date list of the businesses that we loan money to, kind of like we did with the fair.
Sure.
Okay, and then it gives you the itemized what, how the majority of them did. Whether they're paid off or they're making their yearly payments, monthly payments and all that. And it's quite interesting.
To
All
see.
the businesses, that's the top sheet there.
Okay. Through their district.
Yes. So
Sure.
it's one of them deals that we get to vote on when they get an application, somebody wants to borrow money from Easy Talk for a
Sure.
business. We get to vote on it, we, kind of. And
Sure.
it usually is not unanimous, you know what I mean? Majority of them are, but some of them you just kind of think, I don't know if that business is gonna make it.
Sure.
So,
Whether it's good risk or not.
yeah, so it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And that's just his top sheet.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right, yeah. Well, I guess that's about it, so. Actually, we're all done now, so I will.
Entertain a motion, Teresa?
Yes.
Okay.
Adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, Gary, you want a second the adjournment?
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourn?
Aye.